Mic check, mic check. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm just checking the time here, make sure I say the right time. Hey, hi, everybody. Welcome. Happy belated Valentine's Day. Hopefully you guys are doing okay. I don't know if you heard some of the news, but I would like to start off by talking about that. Okay, two important updates on news. The first is that as of this week, the district has started to administer first dose vaccines to employees over 65 years old. That's a big deal. That means that something is moving along in this regard. We are making our way out of the prison. So hopefully in the next couple of months, we hear some news about employees under 65 getting vaccinated, and maybe we'll be back. Who knows? Maybe we'll be back in May for a little send off just to say goodbye and to celebrate the fact that we made it. We'll see. Next, the second important update is something you may have already heard. I'm not sure if you have. I'm going to tell you anyway. As of today, the external assessments will not occur. So this video is for IB year number 2. You guys are juniors. You will not have to take the external assessment. IB just made the announcement. They're using the same purpose as last year. Because this is an international program, it's very difficult for some students to take the exam and some students who can't take the exam, like students in Los Angeles. So that's the official news. All right, let's talk about the implications of this decision. First implication is that your entire IB bio grade out of 7 points will be decided almost exclusively on your internal assessment. So the practical that you submitted to me, I haven't graded yet, that's going to determine for the most part your IB grade. Next point, because there's no external assessment for this class now, that opens up our curriculum significantly. Now, I can actually dive into some really interesting topics that I was not able to dive into because of the curriculum constraint. So now I feel free. There are some teachers that will take this decision and say, we're not going to do very much. I'm the opposite. I'm saying we're actually going to do more. And it's going to be very exciting because now I have creative freedom to talk about things that I think are very important for young people to know. The third implication is that you will have a final exam for the class. It will determine your letter grade for the class, not the IB grade, okay? Keep those two ideas separate. We will take a semester final for the letter grade for this class in the spring semester. And this final will be cumulative over all 2 years, because by the time we say our goodbyes, I want you guys to look back and see, wow, I've really, really come a long way. So we're going to take a final. The date is to be determined. Haven't figured that out yet, but those are the important updates. So all of that leads into our lesson today about heart anatomy. Last lesson was about cardiovascular system overview. This is an artery, this is a vein, these are the cross sections, they're made of this. Pretty easy. Now, we have a broad picture of the cardiovascular system and how it works. We are going to dive into the heart structures themselves, because there's a lot to learn with the heart. And like I said before, I was holding myself back a lot when it came to the information that I would like for you guys to know. Now I don't have to anymore. The external assessment is gone. I can make this stuff as complicated as I want to. and it can get quite complicated. So I'm pretty excited about all this. Okay, with that said, let's take a look at the agenda. Pretty easy today. I'm going to post a brain jog number 2 on the cardiovascular system, page 42. You guys have already done the heart dissection briefing. Just wanted to talk about that again today. And then number 3 is I'm going to have you guys submit the heart anatomy explanation. I don't think we're going to finish it all today, but just submit what we have done today. Stop that share. Let's take a look at our bill so we know where we are. So here is where we are, page 42. We have our brain jog number 2 will be right there. And then on page 47 and 46, we will talk about heart anatomy. So page 46 is atria and ventricles, and page 47 is heart chambers. Okay, so I'm going to stop that share, and then I'm going to get into it now. Yes. Okay. Alrighty. Take your markers out, please. Let's get going. The completed notes look something like this. We're going to talk about heart anatomy today. But before we dive into all of this, I would like to refresh your memory on where we are in the cardiovascular system. Okay. We talked about the double loop system last time. Systemic loop and pulmonary loop. All these two loops work together in order to get your cells the food and oxygen they need to survive. Moreover, we talked about a cross section of an artery versus a vein versus a capillary. And we looked at how loose a vein is in comparison to an artery. Then we finished off by saying the brain has influence over the heart. The brain can make the heart go faster or slower. When you exercise, the brain communicates to the heart that the muscles need the heart to pump faster. When you're sleeping, the brain communicates to heart, you don't need to go as fast, rest. Keep pumping, don't stop, but rest. Today, back here, we will dive into this organ. The heart is something physiologists love to talk about because there's a lot of awesome research and established knowledge about the heart. Perhaps some of you guys will grow up and become scientists who study the heart. I think some of you guys would be very, very good. Okay, the explanation today is called heart anatomy. This goes on page 47 of your bills, and you guys are IB cohort number 6. You will always and forever be my favorite cohort number 6. Okay. First thing I like to do is I would like to draw the heart for you. It looks a little something like this. Okay. Hopefully, you guys can keep up with that drawing. If you have to, pause the video, that's fine. Today, for our explanation, I want you to walk away knowing the names of 4 chambers and 4 valves. Again, 4 chambers and 4 valves. That's the goal for today. Pretty easy. We're going to start off slow, okay? Again, 4 chambers, 4 valves. Okay. Let's start with the chambers. Now, when we learn about the heart has rooms. Think of the heart as one big house. And within that house, you have 4 rooms and 4 doors. 4 rooms and 4 doors. The rooms are the chambers, the valves are the doors. You can think of it that way. Let us begin with the first room. I will go in the order of the flow of blood. So we're going to start with the first room where the blood begins. This is called the right atrium. The room after that, down here, if the atrium is up here, down here must be the right ventricle. Okay, before we move on to the left side, think about what an atrium is. Have you guys ever heard that word atrium? The atrium is the first room you enter when you go into a big house. That's called the atrium. Blood enters the heart into the same kind of room. They enter through an atrium. That's why it's called an atrium. Underneath the atria, so the atria is the plural version of atrium. Underneath both atria are the ventricles. Now the ventricles are bigger than the atria. The atria are small chambers. You're going to see this in dissection. They're pretty darn small. The ventricles are the big chambers. Okay, so this is like, if we're thinking of the metaphor of a house, this would be the living room, and this would be just the place where you put your shoes if you take your shoes off at home. Put your shoes here, then you walk into the big room. There's a reason the ventricles are the bigger rooms. We will discuss that reason when we talk about blood flow through the heart, okay? This is the right atrium. This, therefore, is the left atrium. And down here would therefore be the left ventricle. Not bad so far, right? Right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle. Now, I want you guys to make the flashcards for these right now, but I haven't included any specific features yet, have I? First, I want you to start with the words, and then we're going to build the features on top of that. Just know what they're called for now. You can add on to the flashcard later. Okay. In gray, I'm going to name the doors of our home. There are 4 doors. The difference between these doors and real doors is that these doors do not let anything go in the opposite direction. These are valves. Do you remember that the veins have valves? Those vein valves do not allow blood to go in the opposite direction. They want blood moving in one direction only. Same with these valves, except these valves are in the heart. The location is different, and the names are different too. Okay, let's begin here. The first door that separates the right atrium from the right ventricle is called the tricuspid valve. Again, tricuspid valve. Let your mouth feel that word a little bit. There's a lot of different sounds there. Tricuspid valve. Tri, you guys have seen this root before. It means three. There's something three related to this valve, which we'll show you in dissection. The next valve that separates the right atrium from this Y-shaped vessel is called the pulmonary valve. Just by looking at the word, you can probably figure out where the vessels go. The vessels go to the pulmones, which are the lungs. That's why it's called the pulmonary valve. This valve over here separates the left atrium from the left ventricles. So this valve is called the mitral. You can also call it the bicuspid valve. Both words are acceptable. Mitral valve, bicuspid valve, both are okay. Finally, this valve here, which separates left ventricle from this vessel, we name after the vessel. Aortic valve, because that vessel is indeed the aorta. Look, 4 chambers, 4 valves. Chambers, right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle. Valves, tricuspid valve, pulmonary valve, mitral / bicuspid valve, aortic valve. Okay, how can you remember this stuff? There's some tricks that we learned in anatomy. I'm going to show you the tricks. The atria always come before the ventricles. So A for atrium in the alphabet comes before V, and the atria are on top of the ventricles. Another trick, tri over on the right side, bi over on the left side. We're going to learn later that the tricuspid always comes before the bicuspid. So think of it like shopping. You have to try before you buy. Cute, right? Shopping, you have to try the clothes before you buy the clothes. So try before buy. These valves down here, they are named after the vessel that comes after. This vessel leads to lungs. This vessel leads to aorta. Furthermore, there are ways that we can actually group the valves together. So I'm going to write the groupings up here and call this valves. That's a V, by the way, not a U. Valves. The bicuspid plus the tricuspid together. They're in a group. They're in a bin. They are called your atrioventricular valves. Atrioventricular valves. The bicuspid and the tricuspid. Okay, why is it called atrioventricular? Looky, looky. Because these valves are between the atria and the ventricles. Atrioventricular valves. That's why they're called that. These valves are in between the chambers. The pulmonary and aortic valves, they have a name as well put together. They are called the semi-lunar valves. Lunar, like moon. Semi, like half. Half lunar valves. Half moon valves. Why are they called half moon valves? Because they kind of look like half of a moon. And I'll show you what they look like. They do look like half a moon. Ladies and gentlemen, that is all I would like to go over today. We haven't yet discussed the other stuff, the other anatomy of the heart. Haven't talked about the vessels, haven't talked about this little loopy thingy right here. But this is a good place to begin. Enough for us to begin dissection, okay? What else would I like to say about this? I've been told that the heart kind of looks like a sad frog. I had an intern this past semester who ran a lesson on the heart, and she said that it looks a little bit like a frog. 2 eyes right here for the 2 atria and the 2 cheeks right here for the ventricles. And then I don't know where the mouth comes in, but you can think of it that way too. If you see a sad frog, fantastic. That helps you, good. Okay. Again, the goal of this lesson was 4 chambers, 4 valves. If you've made it all the way to this video, I hope you've met that goal. 4 chambers, 4 valves. So I'm going to stop that share, and I will continue on Thursday after our dissection, or probably even during our dissection. If you have any questions about the news that I talked about in the beginning, feel free to text me on Remind, and I will check and talk with you. But I'm very excited. Now that we don't have the external, it's time to talk about some other really cool stuff. So, okay, I'm going to stop there. Miss you guys. Bye.